Can you begin? I can't see any. I request Hemant sir and Shiv Challa sir to switch on your cameras, please, so that we may begin.
A very warm afternoon to everyone present. I, Soumya Mathur, your host for today on behalf of my hardworking team and this institution, Delhi Metropolitan Education, wholeheartedly welcome you all to the International Symposium on Deliberations on Rethinking the Environment, Sustainability in Modern Era. This is Technical Session 7, theme Healthcare and Waste Management, the Sustainable Approach, where participants across the globe would be sharing their views and opinions regarding the ideas of sustainability through the lens of healthcare and waste management. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to warmly welcome our honorable chairs for this session, Mr. Shiv Challa and Dr. Hemant Kumar Manyakam. Mr. Shiv Challa sir is a social entrepreneur, founder and CEO at 3R Zero Waste Private Limited Company. 3R Zero Waste is a sustainable waste management company working on 360-degree waste solutions, that is solid waste, plastic waste, e-waste, C&D waste, hazardous industrial waste, food waste, and others. They leverage technology in everything they do. IoT devices for tracking of waste and blockchain for designed to follow UNDP SDG goals, and by 2030 they aim to be India's forefront organization into waste. Their NGO wing works for creating skilled workers in the waste management sector with proper education and skills transfer. With 22 years of international experience within 12 countries, Shiv sir is coming back to Clean India. We welcome you, sir, and we are delighted to have you here with us. We also have Dr. Hemant Kumar Manikam, sir, who works as an independent drug discovery researcher at Nepal and India, and is also a UN active volunteer, UN representative India at HCRFF. He has also been certified in translational research in clinical oncology and good clinical practice programs conducted by NIH, NIDA, and National Cancer Institute, USA. He has been born and brought up in southern India and has published more than 40 research articles in international peer-reviewed journals, and also has an expertise in COVID-19 research and played a key role in vaccine and drug development. He has been serving pharmaceutical and cosmeceutical industries for the past 16 years. He has served nutraceutical and phytochemical departments of the pharmaceutical manufacturing companies as head research and development, where he developed multiple phytochemical extractions, purification, synthesis technologies, nutritional, drug development, nanodrug formulations, oncobiology studies, and formulation studies. He has also developed many solid and liquid oral formulations or topical formulations in nutraceutical and herbal industries. He has also cultivated many acres of medicinal and aromatic plants through community farming and clusters. He has specialized in cancer research and drug development and is working to develop novel molecules to treat cancer and chronic diseases. He strives to protect the environment through developing sustainable agriculture techniques and circular economy programs for industries. With his extensive knowledge We welcome you, sir. In the beginning of this session, I wish to inform all the participants that the total time allotted to the speakers of the paper is 10 minutes. The speakers shall be allotted 8 minutes for presenting, and the remaining 2 minutes shall be for the questionings by the chair. Now, with due permission of the chairs, I would like to call upon our first participant for the day. Should we begin, chairs?
Please proceed.
Okay.
Yes, please go.
So, Mr. Shashank Kumar De here to present paper on topic COVID-19 pandemic and radioactive waste management in hospitals via the environment.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, all the respected professors present in the session and all the fellow researchers. My name is Shashank Kumar De, and I would like to know, hello, am I? Hello. Yeah, kindly allow me to share the PPT. Hello.
Just a minute, just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, all set to go. You can share your screen.
Screen. Hello. Yeah, I hope the PPT is visible.
Your presentation is not visible, but your screen is visible.
Hello. Not audible, I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Shashank, you can proceed. Your screen is visible now.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for a bit late. My research paper topic is COVID-19 pandemic and radioactive waste management in hospitals with the waste environment. Now, first of all, COVID-19 in this last couple of years has destabilized the healthcare waste systems across the world in a very severe manner. And the hospitals are overburdened with the patients of the COVID patients. Now, hospitals use radioactive instruments for the purposes of X-rays, chemotherapeutic, and radiotherapy and resurgence. Now, these teletherapy machines use radioactive isotopes like cobalt-60, cesium-137, and other radioactive isotopes. Now, these isotopes are very dangerous, just like their radioactivity is very high. Now, when these radioactive instruments which are being used in the hospitals are not properly disposed of or not properly maintained, then they can have serious health and environmental issues. Now, how this happens, there are a couple of incidents across the world. Now, I would like to throw light on the first incident, and it is the Goina in. Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Not audible.
Please proceed, Shashank.
Oh yeah, fine. Yeah, fine. Yeah, sure. So the first incident regarding it is Goiânia incident, which happened in Brazil in 1987. At that place, a hospital was abandoned by the hospital authorities, and the radioactive instruments which were used in the hospitals were left out there. Now, there a couple of miscreants of the society came in and they tried to break in the radioactive instrument, and mistakenly they took out the radioactive isotope which was there in the instrument, and it actually radioactively contaminated the entire area. and it actually affected 247 people got radioactive contaminated to it, and the entire tops were to be removed due to the radioactivity, extreme radioactivity, which took place in 2000, and this is in Thailand. And here the hospital was having the radioactive isotopes, these instruments, and these instruments were actually supposed to be disposed of, and due to negligence of the hospital authorities, they were not properly disposed of through the proper channel, and it ended up in the scrap markets, and it actually was dismembered by them, and it radioactively contaminated the entire place. Now, after this shows how dangerous these radioactive instruments can be if they are not properly cared of. Now, moving to India, as how India has dealt with these similar situations. Now, according to CAG audit report of 2018, around 91% of X-ray facilities in India are not registered with the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which means technically out of 57,000, only 5,000 radioactive facilities. These facilities are registered with Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. So this clearly shows that a major amount of these institutions are not within the inspection of the proper authority. Similarly, there's a 97% shortfall in the inspection of the diagnostic radiology facilities every year. This shows that how the radioactive instruments are actually disposed of by the hospitals and X-ray facilities are not properly checked out by the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board or any other competent authority. So this threat has even increased multiple times during the COVID regime, because the hospitals are so much additionally burdened that the proper channelization, if it would have been there, that would have also failed. So this threat has increased a couple of times during this period of time, during this COVID-19 situation. Now, even the International Atomic Energy Agency review report of 2015 has said that India needs to have a rational policy for nuclear safety and radioactive waste management, and also internal emergency arrangements. So clearly, the even International Atomic Energy Agency has opined that India needs a proper, robust legal system to actually curb these kind of problems. And we need to understand that the basic difference between nuclear radioactivity, which is there in nuclear reactors, and this commercial radioactivity in hospitals and in industries and laboratories are very different, because the entire legislation process of our country are mostly focused on the nuclear reactors part, and which is very obvious and which is very genuine. But we need to understand that the hospitals are in the densely population part of the society. So if some accident takes place in this society, in these places, then the impact will be more. And this is why we need a robust legislation regarding the same. Now I will move to the legislative situation of our country at present, also the findings that Atomic Energy Amendment Act of 2015, Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010, Atomic Energy Radiation Protection Rules 2004, and Nuclear Damages Rules 2011. These are actually putting emphasis on the nuclear reactors itself. So shows that the legislations and the rules of our country are mainly focused on the nuclear reactors only. They're not completely ignoring the commercial radioactive arena, which is very huge in our society. And there are only nominal guidelines regarding the commercial sector, specifically hospitals. And if we even see the definition of nuclear damage given under Section 2, Clause G of Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010, it is limited only to the nuclear radioactive accidents, and it excludes radioisotopes used in hospitals and other commercial sector. So even the nuclear damage, the definition of nuclear damage in our legislations are only confined to the nuclear damages which can happen in nuclear reactors, and they are ignoring this particular side of the radioactivity, which is actually mushrooming across the country. Now, there are a couple of recommendations which has been suggested in this research, I would like to suggest is that the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board must be made an independent regulatory board, because at present, the central government is the main authority and it has delegated its powers to the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. And due to this, the AERB is not able to properly channelize and properly inspect and other facilities with freedom. And there need establishment of information city centers in the district level. If unattended actions and this office and so that a major accident can be called off. Similarly, international the commercial radioactivity, and given some of the recommendations that according to
Mr. Shashank, are you there? I think we can proceed to the next.
All right.
If you cannot catch him.
I think he has some internet issues. Okay, so coming upon our next participant, I welcome Mr. Shekhar Kumar with his presentation on the topic Impact of Climatic Change on Public Health, Mitigation and Global Policy Responses. Mr. Shekhar Kumar, are you there?
Am I audible?
Yes, Shekhar, you are audible.
Good
Can
afternoon
you
to
share your
the
screen?
team members.
Alright.
Yes. Is it legible?
Not yet. Yeah, it is visible now.
So, good afternoon to the respected members and professors and participants.
Shashank, can you increase your volume, please?
Yeah, sure, sir. The topic for my research was impact of climate change on public health, its mitigation and global policy responses. Now, climate change is a long-term continuous
Sorry to
change.
interrupt. Shekhar, can you put it on full screen? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Yes.
Okay.
Shekhar.
Is it better now?
Shekhar.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see a sign on the right hand side of your screen which allows you to play the PPT? You see a small book made, and across that there's a sign for play PPT, or towards the end there's a full screen. Go down, please.
ma'am, sorry
Right.
to interrupt. Hello, ma'am.
Right, with the down, bottom corner, right.
Hello.
Let me
Right.
try
I'm
that
so
Hello,
again.
sorry,
ma'am.
chairs. Is this visible to you? Shall we continue like this? Shiv, sir?
Should I try that again after leaving and then again joining?
Shiv sir? No, but let him continue.
So while Shekhar is working on this setting up, can we ask few questions to Shashank?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yes, Shashank. So as you mentioned that radioactive waste has been not been taken care. I agree with you. So what are the recommendations you would have with respect to best practices internationally?
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Am I audible
You're
now?
audible.
Yeah. Sure. So first of all, India is having an independent body which will look after this radioactive wastes. So India needs to have Atomic Energy Regulatory Board as an independent body. For example, USA, Australia, even Pakistan, France, these all countries are having their own independent regulatory body, which is actually looking into these commercial radioactivity with properly. But just because India is not having an independent body, this Atomic Energy Regulatory Body's role gets very limited. Even it is not able to put proper fines as how much it needs to put. It is providing 50 rupees fine, 100 rupees fine. So it is very much restricted. So India needs to have an independent body. Secondly, as I have already discussed, that there need to be some environmental information centers established across the district levels. So what will happen if that a particular person finds a unsolicited or suspicious unattended radioactive instrument or even an equipment, then it can be reported back to the that information facility so that they can take the proper action, because it is not practically for the AERB to actually come down from its to all the time to deal with this problem always. So they need to have district level decentralization is needed. Also, there has been even France has come up with this one facility center, where what they do, that the name of the facility center is Centre de Aube at Morvilles, and it is the world's first radioactive related facility for disposing of the low and intermediate activity short-lived radioactive wastes. So India needs to have such kind of radioactive facilities, mostly in the district levels or at least in the state levels, so that these radioactive wastes can be properly disposed of by the proper authority itself. And why it is very important, because the radioactivity is so dangerous that even after 100 of years, its radioactivity doesn't go. So we need to have these kind of proper centers which can actually dispose them off and take care of it properly.
Sure, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shashank. One more question for you, Shashank, here. So do you have studied anything practically on giving solution for this problem other than establishing the management system? So is there any solutions you people as a researchers have identified to develop some other things out of the waste?
Sir, at present, I have found a couple of solutions which are there in the other countries. Like USA has already switched from the traditional cobalt 60 and cesium 137 radioactivity isotopes to different level of radioactivity, which they are not technically using these high radioactive emission isotopes. Rather, they are coming up with some isotopes which are not that emissioner based. So even they have even removed these kind of instruments from their system by 2000 itself. So I believe that what the USA and other European countries have actually realized this problem a couple of decades back, and this needs to be borrowed even in India, so that if the Indian government looks into this and they provide an actual realization to this, and they actually systematically remove all these radioactive instruments or equipments which are being used in our country, then these new instruments will be followed up. So it will actually minimize this kind of radioactive threats to the society, I believe. So it's most of a comparative analysis. So that will definitely help in this.
Definitely, thank you. And one more thing is that which we identified as a, because myself do into the medical services. So in abroad countries, they almost avoided this type of radioactive materials using in the medical systems, other than in the diagnosis particularly. Now we have got the advanced MRI topographic systems which are available, which are non-radioactive, and where we can do a lot of scannings, including bone density, everything. But the problem is here the cost. Most of our population is having the poverty of about 60%, and still a life status has to be increased. So there is a main issue here. We cannot bring such instruments to the country. Still, we are depending on the traditional X-ray systems, which uses high radioactive materials. That is medium radioactive materials. So I hope that the youngsters like you should find a solution, either the disposal mechanism development and reuse of that things are that one, and developing the sustainable or the cost-effective MRI systems, portable MRI systems for this type of scannings. So I hope people should work much on this part, and you can make some more study on this, and next time you can present it well.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a nice idea and a nice topic. So we'll further proceed for the next level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I request the next person to please begin. Shekhar.
Yes.
Shekhar, please unmute yourself and switch on your camera.
I hope, can we proceed to the next participant, please?
Am I audible, ma'am? I was unable to unmute myself.
Mr. Shekhar, you're audible, but just share your screen and
बाकी बोला कि बहुत अच्छा रिसर्च है हमारा रिसर्च में मतलब सही चीज अच्छी चीज पे रिसर्च कर रहे हो
Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, your screen is visible, Shekhar.
Okay, so good afternoon to all the team members and participants. It's a great privilege to share my research topic with you. Topic for my research is impact of climate change on public health, its mitigation, and the prevalent global policy responses. So climate change, simply put, is a long-term continuous change to average weather conditions or the range of weather, or both happening together. Now, as we all know, in recent decades, the changes in climate are happening rapidly, and it was quite unprecedented in the last thousands of years. And the evidence strongly indicates that human activities are responsible for driving climate change. The process that pump carbon dioxide into the atmosphere are operating faster than the process that remove it. So it allows carbon dioxide to remain in the atmosphere for a very long time. Now I will talk about the impact of climate change on public health, which is the core issue here. The Earth's population on Earth is increasing at an explosive rate, and it is consuming energy at an ever-increasing rate. The day-to-day activities that burn fossil fuels, for be it electricity generation or for industry, transport, along with the large-scale deforestation and increased agricultural demands, are all responsible for this, causing the planet's temperature to increase even more. The worst climate change impacts include the melting of the polar ice and glaciers causing sea level. So it also increases the likelihood of heat waves, drought, wildfires, tropical cyclones, leading to more frequent heavy rains, which contributes in turn to flash floods and animal and plant species extinction. Now, what can we do to mitigate this climate change? So most of the greenhouse gases accumulate over time and mix globally, and any one country emissions affect the others. So it works in tandem. Each country has its own development agenda and priorities depending on the comfort level of their people, and they pursue accordingly. So for example, for USA, which is already a quite developed nation, has more responsibilities than India, which is still in a developing stage. An effective universal mitigation plan on emissions is therefore quite hard to frame and implement. However, having said so, international cooperation is obligatory to effectively mitigate the greenhouse gas emissions and address the climate change issues. In many countries, development includes eradicating poverty and building infrastructure. So they have to strike a balance between the two. So the climate change concerns and the development that help to enhance the welfare of the people. Now, I will like to phase down on. So carbon neutrality simply means zero net emissions of integrated into the overall development agenda. And the goal should not be just to decarbonize, but to decarbonize development as well. Now talking about energy supply sector, it is important for every economic activity and provides comfort to humans. But there are quite issues with renewable sources, like they pose challenges to the conventional methods of daily operation of the electric grid. Now, I would like to discuss the benefits which are associated with mitigation, and I have classified into three heads. The first is socio-economic benefits. So it includes everything like employment, be it energy security or better access to energy services in rural areas. So according to a report prepared by US, two researchers from the US, over 4 million full-time jobs could be created by 2030 from implementing aggressive energy measures in which renewables share is 30%. Already in India, Nepal, Brazil, and parts of Africa, some renewables are already most viable options for increasing energy access in rural and remote areas. The second benefit is of environmental and health impacts, and this goes without saying. Combustion-related emissions cause substantial human health and ecological impacts. Nearly 80% of the world's population is exposed to more air pollution than what is recommended by the WHO. And so many of these pollutants can be significantly removed through pollution control devices. The third limb is technical risks. We have all heard about the nuclear accidents like in Chernobyl in 1986 or at 3 Mile Island in 1979. So they led to the increase, resulted in high emissions of fatal chemicals. Like in Chernobyl, it was iodine 131, which caused measurable increases of thyroid cancer at the time of accident and later in the surrounding areas. So these are some benefits which can be result from the mitigation of climate change. Now, what is the global policy response to this? So earlier, the 1980s, the warming from greenhouse gas was the prime concern for the climate problem. The issue was brought into political agenda only later after in the 1990s by the world governments, and they decided to establish an international body to take on the job of providing an impartial scientific view of climate change and its ecological and economic impacts. In 1988, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, was created by the WMO, World Meteorological Organization, and UNEP, which involved thousands of global scientists and experts to work on climate change or climate issues. So they had formed three working groups. It was the first group dealt with physical science basis of climate change. The second dealt with the climate change impacts, adaptation, and vulnerability. The third with mitigation of climate change. Although we have seen from 1994 onward, the IPCC has produced periodic reports, and then the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change was also adopted in 1992, which came into force in 1994, whose main objective was to initiate steps to stabilize greenhouse gases and concentrations at a level that would prevent dangerous interference with the climate system. After that, we have Kyoto Protocol in 1997, which was quite landmark, but its implementation was not really effective. The long delays to get the Kyoto Protocol forced the UNFCCC to contemplate on what kind of emission reduction regime should follow the period ending in 2012. After that, we had a seminal COP in which the landmarks, some of them were in 2015, the COP21 held in Paris, which agreed on a legally binding agreement that sets the goals of keeping the global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, and enhancing global adaptive capacity. Now, the recent one held in Glasgow, that is COP26, is also quite landmark for the reason that it has stressed that robust action in the current decade was most critical to achieving the 1.5 degree target, and the countries were exhorted to strengthen their climate action plans for 2030 or the nationally determined contributions by next year. So, to conclude, in light of these developments, it would not be wrong to say that climate change is too complex, too broad, and too weighty. Therefore, a collective action is required by all the countries of the world, and it is essential to restrict its impacts on the Earth system and the consequences are quite devastating on the human life and ecosystem. Particularly, and this is quite important, that the countries who are pumping the largest emissions have an obligation, and they have a good obligation to many poor countries like in Africa and small island states who emit least but suffer most by the adverse impacts of climate change. So to align climate policy with this development, mitigation measures are quite essential, and its implementation depends on a lot of factors like economic aspects and several other factors like mitigation and the policy objectives. So it has the potential to minimize the future climate change impacts. However, strict robust action by the countries in this regard is desirable and feasible for achieving this goal. So with that, in my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shekhar. I now request the chairs if they have any questions, they may ask.
Thank you, Shekhar. It's overall a crispy presentation about the climate change and its health mitigation policies. You mostly spoken about the policies here, but still, other than you mentioned somewhere about this carbon neutralization path. But my question is here: is the global climate impact is just because of the carbon or increase, or more factors are involved? So what do you think about this one? Do you only think about the carbon, which is causing the global rise of temperatures, or some more factors are involved?
No, sir. It will be wrong to say that it is the carbon emissions alone are responsible. But yes, it comprises the majority for the maximum reason for the worsening climate change. However, there are quite a number of other factors. For example, we have fugitive emission, or because of fuel extraction. So, and in this Glasgow summit, 2021. The main agenda of was to
Sorry to
reduce.
interrupt. Shekhar, can you please turn your camera on?
Yeah, sorry. So I was saying the main agenda in this Glasgow summit was also to minimize the use of carbon dioxide. So it, in my opinion, it is the major contributor to this climate.
Okay, okay, Shekhar. Look, we have a lot of climate change policies, climate action policies at present, but most of them are on papers, but we don't have anything in action actually. Now the temperature is increasing every year about 1 degree, 0.5 degrees above, which is an alarming situation for all of us, you know, the melting glaciers and other things. But recently the NASA people has adopted a technology where they did the topographic analysis from past 1962 till today. So therefore, I have seen studying the topographic analysis till 1998, there was no much increase in the climate. Okay, even though the industrialization started after 1960s, which I understood after the study that it is not just carbon which increase. Because look, if it is only a carbon, the cars, vehicles, population, and all this were before 1998 also they were there, and they're at the same phase of increasing. But still the temperature never. But I have seen the revolution of mobiles, the internets and mobiles, and after that the temperature started drastically increase 1 degrees after 1998. I will try to share you that image, topographic image for you. So I think you people should work on the microwave radiation that is caused by the many other things. Look, we all humans, animals, and all the equipments we use, they produce some type of radiation physically. So I found that particularly this mobile utilization been increased after 1998, 2000s, you know, a lot of towers. I feel that this microwave and other, you know, radiation are playing the crucial role in increase of this climate. It's not the actual carbon, which I felt. So I hope that the youngsters like you should prove it, work on some, you know, a protocol where to show that it's not just carbon, there's bigger than that one, like the mobile utilization. Increase of this networking services has increased drastically the temperature, the melting of glaciers, because they can, these microwaves, they are, you know, the microwaves, though our earth cannot tolerate the microwaves much, it will boil. Okay, it's not the carbon. Carbon was there in many planets, many things. They never boil like as we are raising the temperature today. We have a huge water resources, the sea, which grabs much amount of carbon dioxide. So I request the youngsters like you, if you are from this background, to study the effect of this, you know, the mobile radiations all over the world, how much radiation we are generating and how much that is impacting the rise of temperature. No one has did this study, though. I hope you people should do this.
I will look into this.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good session.
Thank you, sir. Shiv sir, do you have any questions?
No, in the interest of time, I think I will not have any questions. Let's continue with the next.
All right, so moving on to our next participant, Ms. Manjusha, who is presenting on the topic, The Menace of Plastic Waste, a Legislative Analysis from the Indian Perspective. Ms. Manjusha, are you there? Ms. Manjusha?
Yes, good afternoon,
Okay.
ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Please allow me to share my screen.
You can share your screen.
Yeah, is it visible, ma'am?
No.
Yes.
Yes, it is visible now. Please put it on full screen.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. The topic for my article is The Menace of Plastic Waste, a Legislative Analysis from the Indian Perspective. I'm a PhD scholar from University of Delhi and at the same time as the assistant professor at Bharati Vidyapeeth University, Paschim Vihar, New Delhi. So You must have heard the news that Modi ji has came out with a new notified rules, which is recently notified by the Indian Gazette, and that rule is related with the single-use plastic. Basically, with these new recently launched, Modi government tried to prohibit the single-use plastic, which is having a low utility and high littering potential. So basically, and the single-use plastic is having a very a low kind of utility, and they are very high potential for littering the society and street and rivers and all these drains. So basically, when we see that the problem with this plastic waste is an additional issues with other kinds of which are waste which are there present in the society, and this plastic waste problem has become a transboundary changed, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
This plastic waste rules 2021, which are right, which is given by the which is polluting the environment very on a very high range. So very highlighted topic. Again, in the Prime Minister of India also conferred the Champion of the Earth Award by UNEP in 2018 for pledging to eliminate all single-use plastic by 2020. So basically, the plastic waste management rules are there for eliminating the plastic, but now the focus is on single-use plastic. So earlier, these rules were plastic waste management rules 2016, and these were amended in 2018. 2000 these rules gives various plastic. It says plastic means material which contains as an essential ingredient a high polymer, polyethylene, terephthalene, high density polyethylene, vinyl, low density polyethylene, and polypropylene. Then come to the plastic waste definition. It says that plastic waste means when the intended use of a particular kind of plastic is over, then that become a plastic waste management. It means the collection, storage, transportation, reuse, recovery, recycling, and compositing, disposable. So plastic waste management can be done through all these means, from the collection to the disposal. As we have seen from these pictures, this plastic has become a very huge problem. It has become a transboundary problem also, because we have seen from one side of the country to another side of another country. These are the international convention, basically for the convention for the environment. But the Basel Convention on the Transboundary of Movement of Hazardous Waste 1989 was there for the hazardous waste, transporting movement of hazardous waste, but it nowhere specify that it will involve the plastic waste. I'm saying that it's my personal opinion that it must include plastic waste here, because plastic is not a problem, but when it converts into the waste, it becomes a problem. And nowadays it has become very hazardous to the human health, to the natural environment, ecology, because it has become a hazardous kind of waste. The plastic waste has become a hazardous kind of waste. Plus, it is reaching from the one country to the another country. Stockholm Declaration, thereafter the Basel Convention come. The Rotterdam Convention is basically on the came in 2001. Laws. So basically, Article 250 giving power to the Parliament, which can make laws for the implementation of the agreement, treaties, or convention. So basically, when India sign a convention or sign a treaty, then for the implementation of those treaties, it has to make some laws for the fulfillment of those provisions. So under Article 253, the Constitution of India giving power to the Parliament to make laws for those conventions and treaties. Then there are Articles 48A and Article 51A. So Article directive principle of state policy, obligation on the state that it will protect and improve the environment. And then Article 51A G is there, which is putting a duty upon the citizen to protect and improve the natural environment. So basically, Constitution is a grand norm, and from the Constitution of India, Parliament is empowered to make laws for the protection of environment. And Environment Protection Act 1986 was made under these empowerment. So Environment Protection Act deals with the procedure and safeguards.
What's the connection?
Yes, I guess she lost the connection. So till the time she comes back, we will move on to our next participant. Now welcoming Mr. Anant Christian to present on the topic, a study on cigarette butts as harmful waste in environment and its legal awareness among smokers. Mr. Anant Christian, can you hear me?
I'm just sharing my slides.
Okay, but I guess Miss Manjusha is back too. So Miss Manjusha can
I will wait.
complete her presentation.
Should I wait or should I start?
Miss Manjusha is back, so we will
No
come back
problem.
to you after her.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Miss Manjusha, can you hear me?
I think we can continue with Mr. Anand.
Okay.
Am I audible, ma'am?
You're back. Good.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So under plastic waste rules, there are certain responsibilities put on different kinds of stakeholders.
Your internet interrupt.
So the responsibilities are their main thrust is on the minimization, and specifically stated it will adopt the polluter-based principle. So whoever polluting there are also EP used product for the sound management of the recycling. Yes,
Yes, you're on.
so the quality-based principle impose liability on a person who pollutes the environment to compensate for the damages caused and return the environment to its original state regardless. Then the provisions are related with marking or labeling also. Each plastic carry bag will contain the marking and labeling on it. There's a registration procedure is also provided by this act.
She lost her
I think I
connection.
request you to proceed with
So
this.
I guess we'll begin with Anant.
Go for the next.
Yeah, all right.
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Anant.
I'm sharing my screen.
Sure.
So my topic is a study on cigarette butts as a harmful waste in environment and its legal awareness among smokers. I am from MS University of Vadodara, Faculty of Law, PhD student. And slide jump over. Just like- screen is not here. Just a minute. So, with an estimated 4.5 million thrown each year, cigarette butts are the most frequent sort of trash on the planet, and cigarette butts are poisonous to microorganisms, insect, fish, and animals, and hazardous to living species and ecosystem health. This was the introduction part, but my objective of the study is to study the level of awareness about harmful effect of cigarette butts to environment among smokers, to understand level of legal awareness about laws related to cigarette butts among smokers, and to understand how smokers dispose cigarette butts. And my hypothesis are smokers are not aware about harmful effect of cigarette butts. Majority of smokers are not aware about law related to smoking, and majority of smokers are not disposing cigarette butts properly. And methodology I used is it's a quantitative study. I used a questionnaire as a tool, and universe was the smokers of Vadodara city. I selected 80 smokers randomly from the Vadodara city. And finding of my research is that age of 65% 65% respondents was 15 to 25, and 29 were 26 to 35, and 5 were below 14, and only 1% were above 35. Means almost the majority of smokers were youngsters, and 72% respondents were aware that cigarette butts are harmful for environment, while 27.5% were not aware about this fact, and majority of respondents learned from the internet, and 64.6% said that they were aware that cigarette butts are harmful for animals, while 35.4% were not aware, and 66.3% said that they were aware that cigarette butts are not aware, and 55% of my respondents were aware about the fact that cigarette butts are non-biodegradable, while 55% respondents were not aware about the biodegradability of the cigarette butts. And 41.3% of smokers throw cigarette butts at the street, while 40% of my respondents said that they use dustbin, and 13.5% use ashtray, while 5% dispose it in nearby natural resource places. So 93.8% respondents said that they were found cigarette butts on the street, and 51.2% said that no one points out to them when they throw cigarette butts at a public place. And my 69% of the respondents said that they were aware that smoking is prohibited in public place. So there is awareness. And while 31% respond are still, they are not aware about the smoking in public place. And 54% respondent knows the name of the 58.8% of smokers were disagree with the statement that there should be a law for regulating cigarette butts in India, while 41.3% respondent agreed, means almost more than 40% people agreed that there should be a law on regulating cigarette butts in as a environment polluter in India. And 91.8% of my respondents were not aware about any law related to environment protection in India. And the conclusion is my findings are not actually supporting my hypothesis number one, that is smokers are not aware about harmful effect of cigarette butts. As per the findings, 72.5% of respondents were aware about the harmful effect of cigarette butts. And according to my hypothesis number two, majority of smokers are not aware about the law related to smoking, were not very well supported, because 54% of my respondents were aware about the law related to smoking in public place. And hypothesis number three was well supported by the findings of the research that majority of smokers are not disposing cigarette butts properly. So this was my small study, and my just recommendation is there is no law in India to regulate cigarette butts. It is because it is practically very difficult in India to even regulate smoking in a public place. And even though there is a legal provisions that there should not be any ashtrays in hotels and public places, despite of the fact we find so many ashtrays in hotels and public places. So we are not finding that much success in implementing smoking ban in public place. So to get cigarette butts specifically is now there should be a next proposal for the government to control cigarette butts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anand Christian problem. It's a very good selection of the theme. As per our main session concept, it covering the healthcare perspective of health waste management. So it's very good. I hope soon you people may bring a law. Being a law, guys, you should bring up the law which is applicable. And also the awareness to all the youngsters who are taking, becoming a chain smoker. The microfibers as well as the chemical components, they are very much dangerous to all of us. So thank you very much for the nice presentation.
Thank you.
So I have one question.
Yeah, please.
Because I am working specifically on zero waste cafe, wherein we have installed, again, this is from Gujarat, one gentleman, Buff India. So he has made a dustbin for cigarette butts. So I have bought some samples and I'm installed in this particular cafe. So, and tomorrow we have an event for upcycling. I want to promote this, with the, so based on your conclusion, it looks like youngsters are the, most people are doing, and same could be across India. So what more do you think can, because in the cigarette packets, they talk about cancer, right? They don't talk about the environment pollution. So do you suggest that in the packets, if they put some marks for environmental things, that can help in thinking, provoking the students, or any other solution?
I am a practicing advocate, and I have found 3-4 PILs. Now even in the movies, you find smoking is a injuries to the health, that warning. I was the intervener in that Mahesh Bus versus Union of India personally. So I have my personal opinion that it is just keeping a pictures, but for cigarette, but specifically there should be a very specific awareness programs and there should be a very specific warning. Parallel means awareness spreading should be there. So because still smokers, even after seeing observing this pictorial warning, they are smoking. So those who are hardcore smokers, it is very difficult to control them, but at least we can control them by law, that don't litter anywhere. And what you are suggesting, sir, is a great idea. If we are keeping any plastic, means any mechanism for controlling this waste, but it will be, I think I am hearing for the first time, sir. So it will be great. And if I am required anywhere, I will be available for that event also, sir. Because warning should be there to control environment pollution, because second-hand smoke is not focused, and cigarette butts are not at all concerned also for the legislators, because plastic bans for a gutka, it is already done, but the cigarette butts are still ignored. So this will be a great idea what you are suggesting, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anand sir. Now I would like to take permission from the chairs that Miss Manjusha is here, and would you like to ask any questions to her?
Yeah, Ms. Manjusha, are you audible?
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Sir.
audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
Look, you are mainly on the plastic waste, microplastics and plastics, plastic. Okay. So still the solution for the plastic, even though we have got a lot of, environmental policies, that. So the single-use plastic, we are saying it on papers, all governments, all the world is crying on it to stop the single-use plastic. Even we have the alternatives, particularly for using the paper bottles, paper cups, they are advanced polymer-based, degradable polymer-based things. So what is your opinion on this one to make the companies a must-use policy, or we just put it on the paper? Because I doubt that we don't have a must-use policy for the single-use plastics and there. We just put it on paper and there is no complete regulation or control over it. So what is your opinion, and what is your suggestion to bring it into the action, into complete action?
Sir, your saying is true that there is no implementation of any kind of rule as I am researching on these topics, and I have also seen that there is no implementation or half of the implementation of these rules. So as per my opinion, I must suggest producers to try the concept of circular economy. Circular economy means the producers who is producing any kind of product, after the distribution of that product, they should the first focus should be on reuse. If everybody is can as much as they can use that particular product, they should reuse that. Then after that, there should be a segregation of all kinds of waste, like plastic waste, like abhi jo sukha kuda or gila kuda, that should be segregated at the source only. And after that, segregation, the recycling of that waste, transport can be reduced, and the recycling of that waste should be a proper recycling. Means agar incineration ho raha hai, to that should be a incineration without polluting the air. और अगर हम recycle कर रहे हैं by other means, then that recycling method should not be polluted, should not pollute any of the ecological and factors. So my suggestion first is the circular economy should be used. Then annual returns should be filed at the correct time. These rules have mandatory provisions to filing annual returns, half yearly returns by the production department. They should file annual returns so that there should be a data collection control board. So data will be available, then we can measure how the problem is big and the or small. So these are my two suggestions.
Yeah. And one more thing here, the major problem is that many families are depending on these industries, single-use plastic
Yes.
manufacturers.
Yes, sir,
and
yes.
all. And even most of the economy is also depending on this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, once we shut down, all of a sudden, there will be economical crisis, financial crisis.
Yes, sir.
So the suggestion of a circular economy initially will be a better option.
Yes.
Where we circulate all this waste within the thing, not going into the environment. But
Yes.
the circular economy can only be implemented when there is a strict law.
Strict.
The end users, strict law should be there that end users should maintain their circular economy. For example, pharmaceutical and healthcare industries, they use a lot of single-use plastic, like toothpaste.
Yes.
For example,
Yes, sir.
toothpaste tubes and cream tubes, the cosmetic tubes, cosmetics application tubes and bottles. These are all the more single-use plastics,
yes,
right? They can. So we don't have till today the solution. We have some alternative solution, but circular economy solution has been not provided by the scientists. So we should work on much on the how to use the single-use plastics by these pharmaceutical, cosmeceutical industries. I should think, I feel that you should work on that one because this is a big industries, 60% of the financial and economy starts from these two industries, cosmeceutical, food and pharmaceutical, nutraceutical companies. So these are the highest users of the single-use plastic.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to the regular one.
Yes, sir.
So I feel that you should work on it.
I'll take note of it. Thank you, sir. I'll take note.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
So, can I ask something to Shiv, sir?
Yes, please ask him.
Sir, actually, my research is basically on these plastic waste, hazardous waste, and battery waste. So I wanted to meet you. Where can I meet you?
Yeah, I'm in Gurgaon, so very nearby. So mine is one plant. When I started, I invite everybody because most of the recyclers don't allow people inside the gate. They will say, "Bahar aake baat karo." But I say, "Aap andar aake baat karo."
I will, sir. So please, should I give my number or
I'll send you in the message. It will not.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now coming on to our next participant, titled as an integrated in silico approach to identify bioactive phytochemicals in Bahuna variegata plant as potential lead candidates against SARS-CoV-2 transmission targets. We welcome Miss Sunaina Ajrawat and Miss Chavi Thakur to present their paper. Are they here?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. My partner is
Good afternoon, Sunaina. Chavi Thakur.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I, Sunani Ajrawat and Chavi Thakur from JP University of Information Technology, Solan, are presenting our work on an integrated in silico approach to identify bioactive phytochemicals in Bahania variegata plant as potential lead candidates against SARS-CoV-2 transmission targets. Next slide. Okay. So the main aim of the study is to profile the phytochemicals in Bahonia variegata. It is a medicinal plant commonly known as kachnar, by using various bioinformatic tools with the goal of discovering and studying potential bioactive compounds against the novel coronavirus. Next. So basically, as I have already told, Bahania variegata is a medicinal plant which is commonly known as kachnar. It is popular for its pharmacological and commercial significance due to the presence of terpenoids, flavonoids, tannins, steroids, reducing sugars, and cardiac glycosides, which aid in cure of a number of diseases. So with the help of several in silico computational methodologies, what we have done is that we have obtained 3D structures of these phytochemicals from the plant, and we have taken 3 target sites of the SARS-CoV-2. And we have carried out molecular docking. It is a technique to check whether our phytochemicals, they are able to bind with the coronavirus target proteins and are able to inhibit or not. And further, we have also accessed the pharmacokinetic and toxicological properties of these compounds. So according to our findings, the phytochemicals such as beta-cytosterol, lupol, ombuin, and quercetin, they exhibited higher binding affinity with the SARS-CoV-2 targets than the two reference drugs which we have taken are ivermectin and lopinavir. So hence we can say that this plant is an active source of phytochemicals required for the treatment of coronavirus infections. Now, let me introduce you to the plant a bit. It is from a Leguminosa family, and other common names are orchid tree, mountain ebony, camel's foot, poor man's orchid, and it is mainly found in tropical and warm regions of the world. It has high pharmacological and commercial significance due to the presence of, as I've already told about the terpenoids, flavonoids, tannins, steroids, reducing sugars, and cardiac glycosides. It also has ornamental value and is also used as a food item in Indian cuisines and is also used in traditional systems of medicines. Here is a list of phytochemicals that are present in different plant parts. Basically, we have focused on camphorol, ombuin, beta-cytosterol, camphorol 3-glucoside, lupol, quercetin, rutin, and there are many more also. Next. So the pharmacological importance is here as is it gives like it provides with anti-cancer effects, antioxidant effects, anti-inflammatory effects, hypolipidemic effects, antimicrobial effects, nephroprotective effects, anti-ulcer effects, immunomodulatory effect, healing, contraindications. Every virus, the name comes from its crown-like structure, and it appeared in autumn 2009 in China and became a global pandemic. So three targets here we have taken to look for the effective treatments. Now, why this plant? Why this plant Borneo variegata against the coronavirus? Researchers have shown that phenolic compounds such as rutin, camphorol, quercetin have better binding affinity than the reference drugs remdesivir and hydroxychloroquine, whichever active site taken. And quercetin has also shown very promising antiviral effects, and these compounds give best preliminary results with minimized docking scores with the three target sites. And these are considered potential phytochemicals available all together in Borneo variegata for the development of treatment of coronavirus infections. Next. So these are the three target sites that we have taken: main protease, human furin protease, and receptor binding domain. And the ligands, the phytochemicals that we obtained from the plant were the camphorol, gallic acid, rutin, lupol, camphorol 3-glucoside, quercetin, beta-cytosterol, and ombin. And there were two reference drugs to compare the studies, which were ivermectin and lopinavir. Next. Okay, let's come to the methodology. So basically what we have done, we have taken the ligands from the Borneo variegata and we have prepared 3D structures of the ligands. And from the coronavirus, we have taken its target proteins. And then we have studied the interaction between the virus and the phytochemicals with the help of molecular docking. And further also, we have studied the pharmacokinetic and toxicological properties of the ligands. Further, Chabi will explain in detail the process.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before starting with the methodology, I would like to explain the term phytochemical. It is being derived from a Greek word phyton, which is plant. As stated, that they are the chemical compounds which are naturally produced by plants, which provide certain properties which could be highly beneficial for people who are suffering from COVID. So as step one, we have retrieved the entire amino acid sequence of the three target proteins from protein data bank. And as our ligands, which in our case are PubChem, and for reference, we have taken that ivermectin and lopinavir, and we have retrieved their structures from the drug bank database. After that, we have to prepare the protein, the three target proteins of COVID and the phytochemicals before analyzing the interactions between the two. So in starting, we have done the protein preparation using various bioinformatic tools. I would like to explain briefly what are the bioinformatic tools. bioinformatics in general, it is a ligand. In our case, the ligand are the phytochemicals. The software and databases used were NCBI, Swiss Model, Discovery Studio, and UCSF Chimera. These tools are the bioinformatics tools which are used to analyze the sequence which is being extracted from the whole protein sequence for each target site. Then we have pre-processed these proteins in Discovery Studio by adding certain hydrogen atoms and gas tiger charges and done the energy minimization by UCSF Chimera. We have used a web interface called ProCheck in order to find the stability of these protein target sites. So we have done an analysis called Ramachandran plot analysis. In this analysis, we were able to find that the residues here are all found in the favorable regions. That means they are stable and we can use them as in our further studies. Next, we have done the ligand preparation. Now, ligand phytochemicals, we need to prepare the 3D geometrics of the ligands to assign the proper bond orders, charges, hydrogens, and the main purpose of ligand and protein preparation is to minimize the energy. We know that the biological systems are very dynamic in nature, so with low potential energy. So in order to have a spontaneous interaction between the protein and molecule, we need to reduce the energy as overall. So we have reduced the minimization of energy by using UCSF Chimera tool, and we have prepared the ligand and protein for docking. Now, after evaluating the ligand preparation structures, we need to find the properties of these ligands. So we have done the Lipinski law of 5. By that, we were able to find the properties such as molecular weight, hydrogen bond donors, acceptors, log p value of each ligand, and the reference drugs. Then what is docking? We have performed docking. So docking is to find the interaction between the protein receptor and the ligand. So it is an attractive scaffold to understand the drug biomolecular interaction for the rational drug design and the discovery, as well as it is a mechanistic study by placing a molecule ligand, which is a phytochemical, into the specific region of the protein, which is in our case is the SARS-CoV-2 main protease and the other 2 target sites. So the main objective is to find the binding affinity between the protein and ligand with certain parameters, which were hydrogen bond, the electrostatic energy, the total intermolecular energy, and the binding energy, which we need to get in order to find the affinity between the protein and the ligand. So we have done certain steps in the docking process in which we have generated a grid in the particular COVID protein in which we have placed our phytochemical by performing certain steps. So these are the steps in which we have generated the grid, deleted the water molecules, added the hydrogen and charges, and also we have saved the molecule in a particular file format. Then this is the grid which I was mentioning before. We have to set certain parameters here so that the grid box covering the whole protein, so that the ligand can find the best target site in the protein where it can bind very good, and then very nicely, and then results, the molecular docking results. So the study aimed to identify the possible bioactive compounds from Bohania variegata, which is a medicinal plant, so and find the interactions with the SARS-CoV-2 main target proteins. As a result, focusing on these proteins to find the antiviral drugs for coronaviruses provided to be an effective approach. Hence, these antiviral drugs could be the target SARS-CoV-2 primary sites are highly effective and highly potential. So for these targeted COVID proteins, we were able to find that the SARS-CoV-2 human protease and SARS-CoV-2 main protease proved to be the best target site, with more than 5 compounds having the binding energies less than -7 kilocalorie per mole. So this is the results in the range that in all the 3 target sites, we were able to find that lupiol, a phytochemical, was found to be most promising results with the 3 target sites, and it provided the highest binding energy with the target sites. The results are incorporated in a tabular form. Here we can see that certain phytochemicals will more binding affinity will be there between the protein and the ligand. So we found that lupeol showed the highest binding potential with the 3 target sites of SARS-CoV-2 main protease. Prediction.
So toxicological testing and admit properties, these are crucial aspects that we need to consider while developing a drug. For this, we have used Swiss ADME and admit SAR to, these are online bioinformatic tools. So we have studied and looked into the acute oral toxicity, Ames toxicity, rat acute toxicity, plus the carcinogenic tendencies. And with this, we have come to know that all these compounds, they demonstrate no possibility of Ames toxicity, carcinogenicity, acute oral toxicity, and rat acute toxicity. So these drugs are safe to proceed. Here we can conclude that Bauhinia variegata, it yields phytochemicals such as terpenoids, flavonoids, tannins, steroids, reducing sugars, and cardiac glycosides, which have pharmacological effects such as anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, wound healing, anti-ulcer, and anti-obesity. However, when compared to 2 reference drugs, ivermectin and lopinavir, bioactive Bauhinia variegata compounds lupeol and beta-cytosterol have shown highest binding affinities. And also Ombion, Camphorol, and Quercetin have also demonstrated significant docking outcomes, which states that phytochemicals are potential inhibitors of coronavirus targets and could be effective in the treatment of infections caused by these viruses. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sunani and Chavi. I request all the participants to please adhere to the timings, which is 8 minutes for speaking and 2 minutes for questionings by the chairs. Okay, so now I request the chairs if they have any questions, they may ask.
Sunaina and Chavi, I hope I'm audible to you both.
Yes, sir.
Look, it's a good work you are done. Chemical screening by docking technology for particularly to identify the drug targets for COVID. So as of now, you are targeting this Bauhinia. So other than this lupeol, whatever the ingredients, the docking score is still low because the docking score, which is greater than -5, above 5, -5, the free energy will be considered as the best docking. But it's okay, you have selected this plant. So among the molecules, you found the lupeol is the best. But other than this inhibitory effect of the Bauhinia variegata has got a very good anti-inflammatory effect. Because coronavirus is not just an infection; it's a type of vascular disease which causes a tremendous inflammatory effect on our body. So it's not the virus that kills the body; it's the inflammations, the severe inflammatory effect that kills the human being when it is infected. Okay, so Bauhinia variegata has got a very good anti-inflammatory effect than comparing to the antiviral effect against the COVID vaccine, COVID virus. Okay, so the drugs you have selected, okay, it's good, and the methodology is good, but I feel that you should work on more molecules which are further better and stronger. We have studied even in silico, in vitro, and in vivo studies of more than 3,000 phytochemicals, out of which we found even we have got -10 also, the scoring of -10, which is too high binding. So such a type of molecules are also present. But when you selected this Bauhinia, you can work on the inflammatory effect. Okay, so how this can use it for treating the corona, for reducing its inflammatory effect. So that will be additional factor you should add to your research.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
And it's a good work.
Yes, sir.
It's a very good job, good work. I wish you should continue more, comparative studies. You should.
Thank you so much.
Okay, beta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good. God bless. All the best. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Shiv sir, do you have any?
Not very specifically, but I just wanted to comment on your. So I had recently one client. So on leaves. And so there are many chemicals and whatever is the ingredients you require. That waste is also, you should, if at all, you can find out how that can be used, either biogas or is there any other alternative, because if there's no alternative, people will be throwing in the environment, and maybe it can cause some other hazards, which presently Indian scenario, we don't have that type of waste, how it should be taken care of. So just a comment, you can look into
Definitely.
it.
Definitely.
We'll look into that.
Okay, sir. Definitely. Thank you so much for guiding us. We'll definitely add these points into our research.
All the best.
Thank you,
All
sir.
the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to our next participant, Ms. Shobhanita Acharji, presenting on the topic impact of plastic and biomedical waste post-COVID-19, challenges and recommendations towards sustainable goals and in controlling marine pollution. Ms. Shobhanita, are you here?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Just need to share my screen. Is it visible, everyone?
Yes, it is visible.
Can you enlarge the screen?
Please put it to full screen.
Okay, just not.
Play mode. You can.
Just 1 second, please. Is it visible now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Very good afternoon to respected judges, fellow participants, and to the organizing team. Myself is Shobhanita Acharji, and presently a research scholar at Sharda University, School of Law, Greater Noida. And the paper on which I am here to present is on impact of plastics and biomedical waste. Specifically, my research concern will be post-COVID-19, challenges and recommendations towards sustainable goals in controlling the marine pollution. Before I actually begin this session, before me, actually, the learned participants has given an overview impact on the concept of plastics and how it is very much is polluting the marine pollution. I mean the entire environment. So I will just take your 5 to 6 minutes to just go through and to make the session understand how specifically the biomedical waste can be a major concern, not only for present times, but also for the future aspect as well, specifically when talking about the human health concern. Our ocean, if I talk about, is one of the plethora, or rather I'll say a modern marvel, and it is a home to the array of species. And today, if we talk about at present spectrum, if I say, it has become a succumbing poison to the flora and fauna, and specifically to the species due to the poisoning of plastics. In fact, according to United Nations report, at least 800 species worldwide, I'm specifying worldwide, I'm not talking about any country specific, to a worldwide because of the marine debris, and as much as 80% of the litter in the plastic or single-use plastics, which is the main concern for such kind of debris or such kind of pollution to be per se. And with the outbreak of the COVID has actually disbalanced, or rather has made it double of the effect, if we talk about, specifically not on the facets of life of people, on health, but also on the environment. Though the vaccine has brought us a ray of hope, but the dearth of strategy, the lack of policy makings has actually increased the percentile, specifically in the environmental concern, in the concept of the waste management policies. When we talk about plastic, if I say, plastic as a common fact, as we all know, has an excellent strength to weight ratio, and they are durable for the human beings. And in fact, since 1950, it has been one of the part and parcel of human life. But this, because of the COVID vaccination, because of the COVID situation, has demonstrated the indispensable role of plastics in the health sector and public sector to sustain the enormous demand for the personal protective gears, specifically PPE kit N95, which has or which is being implemented or made by the single-use plastics has been, though various legislation has been proposed, but yet they has been withdrawn also. Unfortunately, if I talk about the global mask production, please be notified, specifically N95 and surgical mask kits has brought in an improper dispensing and ratios in the plastic biomedical solid waste in ocean, which has led to the marine pollution. Now, before moving to my research, I would like to enlighten the basic reason, the meaning of what marine pollution is. If we talk about, according to WWF 2020 report, inadequate management of only 1% of face mask can contribute to 3,000 to 40,000 kgs of pollution per day. And in fact, if I talk about the international protocol, Article 1, subsection 4 of 1982, UNCLOS, that is United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, has defined marine pollution as introduction by man directly or indirectly, quote, of sub-energy to the marine environment, which is likely to result in living resources. Furthermore, if I want to portray part 9 and 12, specifically talks of UNCLOS relating to the protection and preservation of marine environment and to frame a particular legislation in order to control the pollution per se. And in fact, Article 192 can be enlightened in this era. If I talk about evidences, please be notified in this research. I have conducted a 3-year research specifically from 2019, 20 and 21 per se. Evidence has indicated that litter and plastic pollution is not only a problem in the world's ocean, but also in the global riverways. Professor Wills K. Hartsey, in one of his present study in differentiating litter and urban runoff, where he has actually demographed how debris through river flows reaches the ocean level. And that is the main concern of mine. And that is the way I am here to present the paper, not only on the plastic pollution that we are talking about, but also the biomedical waste is also a very major drastical problem, which is not going to end so easily and so with the only legislation if we talk about. In India, if I talk about, to be specific, plastics do not degrade, please understand. And in India, if I talk about the introduction of biomedical waste and plastic related legislation was first notified in 1958 and along by the Environment Ministry and under the Environment Protection. Furthermore, 2016 May, we have the biomedical waste rules. But the problem, which is the main focus, is on the implementation concern. Now, if I talk also the 2016 rules, as mentioned by one of my fellow participants, relating do talk about the protection and implementation. But as per the Central Control Pollution Board, India has generated 9,200 tons per day. My question is there's a legislation, then why so much ratio? Unlike Wuhan, despite CBCB's assurance, India's 198 medical waste treatment has actually or could only handle about 800 tons per day of medical waste, which is actually improper. The problem happened, the more the people, the more they are using the surgical kits, the wastages, the policies, the implementation is not as it should be. In India, if I also talk about, there has been implementation. Presently, 2021, the BMW or biomedical waste rule has been implemented. And in fact, India is going to be withholding this particular rules, implementing the banning of single usage from 2022. My question is why it was not implemented from 2021 or from 2019 when India or the entire world was affected, not only because of the COVID pandemic, but also for the environmental concept per se. Furthermore, if I move on to the impact, if I talk about, in general, we know that anthropogenic activities such as the unregulated disposal of biomedical waste have always been the source of infectious radioactive pollution. In fact, according to National Centre for Coastal Research, please quote, it has opined that plastic and biomedical waste littered near the river mouths is enough to enter into the ocean beds. And most importantly, according to one of the hospital, King Abdullah University has given the research that higher medical waste, which is 650 kg per day, when considering an occupation of 95 COVID-19 patient, is not that enough. So the people and the amount of implementation that I'm talking about is not in proportion. Also, if I talk about in the next slide, if you kindly see, it is only because of the incarnation of SARS-CoV-2 and lack of cohibition or lack of propaganda. In fact, if I kindly talk about 2000, when the second wave hit the country or the worldwide, there was no kind of propaganda. When majority of the country went into a higher lockdown concern, there was no implementation from the government, specifically when people were in the home centered. Why no kind of propaganda was being initiated in order to educate the people how to use biomedical and how to use the dustbins, or how to filter, or how to propagate, or how to ensure the environmental pollution, or how to control the environmental pollution. No such propaganda was done. And as a result, today, the basic reason why this session has been propagated is that at the end of the day, the plastic and biomedical waste has become one of the major centric concern in relation to control of the particular situation. So thereby, if I, just one second. So the recommendation, if I would like to suggest here, if I may allow, is the only 4 things that I would be recommending. That is the education, prevention, removal, and mitigation. The first is prevention, that is the reuse, reduction, and recycling. Second, removal, that is removing the debris, monitoring and cleaning up initiatives, specifically in the river beds, also the coastal lines. Third, mitigation through proper litter disposal on the development of discharge regulation. And last, education, awareness campaigns, initiative approaches are the only way to have a better sustainable development goal in controlling marine pollution. Also, if I talk about, according to US Food FDA department, healthcare providers must also be implemented to use reusable surgical gowns, which are much more easier, much more easily, less hampering than the single-use plastics. And also one more important, which has been initiated by United Nations, and in fact has been implemented in India, specifically in Mumbai and Vietnam, that is the chemical recycling. New, but it has an attractive technological path, where specifically the 2 organizations, that is Plastic Fisher and Rivercycle. Rivercycle is presently working in Mumbai, cleaning the entire coastal area through chemical recycling, where plastics are collected from the river and is fed into a chemical recycling facility, cremating the waste and making it much more in a reusable statistics. So yes, at the end of the day, if I want to recommend, the only thing is either to reuse, recycle, and renew, or chemical recycling can be a better option in order to make the situation, the ever-growing marine pollution, into a better situation, so that not only the public, but also the climatic progeny can be in a better situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shivanita. I now request the chairs, if they have any questions, they may ask.
Yes, thank you, Shivanita. It looks like you are one of the participants really passionate about waste, and really glad to hear your passion. So coming to, are you from Kolkata? Are you a Bengali by any chance?
I am a Bengali, sir, but presently I had been associated with various, I had been in Delhi for more than 10 years, worked as a professor, but right now I have shifted my sport to Mumbai. It's only a month, sir.
So as you mentioned, this 3R, and then you mentioned about the awareness. So which one is first as per you? Is awareness more important, or 3R?
So,
usually doing this.
So don't you think education, when we are talking about public awareness, also these 3 R's are a part and parcel of public awareness, sir? So if we teach the community about the 3 R's, that is the reuse, recycle, and renew, then it is actually going with the two things. I mean, it is not only educating, but also in a practical implementation, sir. What I told about Mr. River Fisher, actually, I am personally associated with River Fisher, and I have seen, sir, chemical recycling, and it is doing wonders. We are so inclined for chasing so many plastic things that we forget, sir. In fact, sir, due to the lockdown, we have went into, to the house, and we are more inclined to shopping online. But hardly we know that the plastics and the bags that has been given is far more dangerous. In fact, in 2020, Discovery Channels has found a certain kind of species which has in plastic or plastic uranium. I'm just forgetting the name. And in fact, it has been contaminated where in the stomach of that species, a huge plastic glass, a single-use plastic band was being found. My thing is, education is important, sir, but education in the form of awareness is much more important, sir. We can use any form of means. We can use Facebook, we can use Instagram, we can use YouTube. Education does not mean only book, but also awareness through online. If government can implement Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, then why not? The marine pollution telecasting should be the best way to form of education, sir. So yes, sir, I will not be saying which one should come first. I will be saying both should come together. The awareness is a part of education, sir. 3R should be a part of public awareness, sir. And it's a form of education, sir.
Yes, thank you. And I think, actually internationally, we talk about now 5 R's and 6 R's. And one of the R's I would like to share with you in this forum is something called refuse. So if I have a mobile phone, iPhone, or some phone, and somebody is gifting one more phone, we should have that courage of saying no. Similarly,
Yes.
it could be anything. So there are other R's as well. We talk about rethinking of how we can use an item. Like in my plant, we have used waste wood to make the dustbins, to waste wood to make the bed for my staff, waste items to make my guard's house. So we should also think, differently, and that is how things will change in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your advice, sir.
Thank
Sir,
you.
you are not audible. Hemant, sir, you are not audible, sir.
Sorry. Shivani, that's a very nice presentation and the most relevant presentation as of now.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It's an honor, sir. It's an
Look
honor
at
to
the
get
plastic-
such compliment from you.
Good. And secondly, look, after COVID has this 3 years, the 2.5 year of pandemic has proven the most application, the highest application of the bio waste, mostly the single-use plastic fibers has increased by the PPE kits, and the mask and all other things. Okay. So, and this particularly the disposal is the biggest problem for the entire world, not just for us. And which we have seen as a medical specialist, we have
Yes.
seen that they generated a lot of secondary diseases, associated diseases, not only in the
Yes.
humans, but also to the animals, grazing animals, and, particularly in the countries and underdeveloping countries and developing countries like us, we have seen a lot of biomedical waste. I have seen in the dustbins outside, in the human places. I have seen all the masks are flowing on the roads and everywhere. So do we have a policies? No, definitely we don't have
No.
a policies of
No,
disposable of
no.
such system. And we don't have an implementation part. Other than, look, awareness, we all know that the virus or other bacteria will be there on the mask. It's a common sense. Even the uneducated person also knows that his waste is on there, on this one. They knows it. But still, we deliberately do it because we don't have a system to control it. We don't have an equipment to control it. We don't have the system because in the Singapore-like countries, there is a particular disposable systems available. The dustbins, the green, red, bio waste like that. It is available every 100 yards, but it is not available in the country like India. We don't have that facility. Government, even though says Swachh Abhiyan, it's not against the government policies. It is an implementation problem. They think everything, we bought the policies and forgot. So the problem is that we have to implement. It's not just an awareness and education. We have to show them this is the right way, practically. But we fail to do that always.
So may I ask you a question, sir, if you may,
Yes.
sir? So don't you
Yes.
think that you are saying we cannot control, but don't you think, sir, if we are given the awareness sake, if we are so prone awareness, that's what sir, I mean, Shiv sir has also commented that awareness, 3 hours, that's what we have the plastic management concept. In fact, the Paris Convention has been signed by
Yes.
India in 2021 for control. But the thing is awareness, sir. What about the awareness? Don't you think, sir, controlling can only be possible when people are aware? That's my question to you.
That's what I'm saying you, the visual practical awareness. We are just on paper awareness and that one. What is called as a practical visual awareness? When something is there in front of you, and as example, for example, I have kept in every office, in every hospital outside, in every shopping complex outside, I have kept a biohazard dustbin where your mask can be disposed. So is it not more than enough a practical visual thing? If one person started to do, we call it as a mass hypnosis. Okay, yes. Mass hypnosis and mass effect,
yes.
Or we call it as there is one more effect, Doppler effect, where that all will fall down, when one brick
Yes.
falls, all falls. So we should be eligible to put that dustbins visually, the particularly biohazard waste collection center at every shopping malls, at every centers, hospitals, and other things. That's the most of it. That's what I'm saying it. Awareness come from practical application, not by just saying it. Okay, so that is the one. And second thing, I would like to give you all a very pity. You all don't know about this. We, India and underdeveloping countries, are the hub of biomedical waste for the developed countries. Do you people know this? And
no.
Those countries pay, because I'm fighting with this, but it is a very big mafia to fight. What it is, I would like to say it. All the big countries like Australia, US, China, these countries send their bio waste to the underdeveloped countries as a dumping yards. You know that India imports bio waste. You know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Australia sends tons of its biomedical waste to India to dump in our yards. You know that?
Okay.
And they pay for that.
Sir. It's a new thing.
They pay for us. And they pay for us for that maintaining of that bio waste. And if India, like a country, is accepting the biomedical waste from these developed countries and taking the money, and what about the underdeveloped countries? They are the victims of that.
Exactly.
Do you think these all pandemics are spreading as it is? No.
No.
It is all these pandemics are spreaded by this one of the main reasons is the biomedical waste sent by these big developed countries to the underdeveloped and developing countries like us. We are the dump yards for all these countries, and those countries pay for us, pay for our governments. Not even the central, the state governments are also a part in the state ministers and have got a special agreements with Australia where they go and send and they get the huge money for that, and they allow to all the biomedical waste to dump in their states.
Wow.
It comes.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening me. This is a totally a new thing.
Please, you people should identify, raise the voice. I request we all should raise the voice against. We are not the dump yards of their biomedical waste for the other big developed countries.
Definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, India is becoming a dump yard, and it is actually injecting twice the health policy, sir.
And it is true, Anita, because I have seen it with my own eyes, how much biomedical waste comes through the sea to us, through the sea. All the containers which comes all through the sea as a dump yards to our
dump yard. Exactly, sir. Exactly.
Please, I feel you people should work on these things and get the big solution.
It would be I would be definitely, sir, looking forward, and I would be. I mean, this is a new thing. I would definitely, because it's a kind of research I'm doing it for the last 3 years, sir. And this is something new thing.
It's a challenging research for you. It will be a challenging research for you. You will face a lot of problems. You have to come out.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm very sorry because we are actually very short on time. So would like to move on to the next presenter, please.
Go ahead. All the best, Sivanita.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Divan, sorry, I would just like to one comment. All the people who are there. There is, I have not seen in Delhi and maybe anywhere in India where there is a separate dustbin.
Dustbins.
Because of COVID, somebody is putting for biohazard, right? Even the color people are not aware. So I think, I am working on a solution. There are a couple of 5 startups in India who have worked at small incinerators, which can be taken care in the societies. So,
Sir,
if at all you're in a society, please, try to educate your team and get it done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So now let us welcome our next participant, Mr. Swapnil Bhimrao Jadhav, to present on the topic, a critical study of cement concrete industry under role of urbanization and its impact over the public health and environment.
Is it my PPT?
Yes, your PPT is
Visible?
visible.
Okay. Shall I start my presentation? Yes, am I audible?
Yes, you may start.
Okay, thank you so much. So first of all, my research topic is critical study of cement concrete industry under the role of the urbanization and its impact over the public health and environment. Myself, Swapnil Jadhav, and I'm the research scholar from the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar University, Aurangabad, Maharashtra. So I'm turning towards my actual topic. So as per the overview of the issue, today we are turning towards the urbanization and the global level and its impact the overall the level. So nowadays each and every cities are now going to be very smart, and the transportation also going to be smart, and that's why we need some of the construction and the big cities and the roadways. We would like to use the different type of technologies and some of the different type of methods, and that's why we need the huge need of the use of the cement concrete. So nowadays, if we think about the production of the cement, the country like the China is on the top level, and thereafter the India is a second level about the construction of the cement. So now the India have 210 large and 265 small cement plants in nowadays. So as we compare to the global level, though India only emitting the 7% carbon on a global level, so it is a very much a level on the production by the India. So because of it, it may cause of the health issues like the bronchitis and the asthma and obstruct to the respiratory system of the people. And it is also concerned to the environment, air and the soil concerns. So thereafter, as per the introduction of today's topic, is the urbanization. In the era of the urbanization, the world is transforming towards the advancement, and there is a huge advancement in the science, technology, and transportation, as well as the construction, education, finance, and the living standards. And we are adopting the concepts of the smart cities and the progressive cities. So in that way, with the environmental effectiveness, effective public transportation system, and the smart urban planning, the human-friendly and accessible urban planning, multiple buildings, and the human living working conditions to utilize the common resources. Now, from the very beginning, we are using the asphalt road are used from the many years, and it has a drawback like particulate pollution and asphalt emission into the environment. So that's why we have to avoid this type of issue, and as per the drawbacks of the asphalt road, we are turning towards the cement concrete roads nowadays. But whether we are turning towards the cement concrete roads, whether we have to also think that whether these are the cement concrete used is eco-friendly or not. Yes. Then thereafter, the utility of these cement concrete. If we discuss about the utility of the cement concrete, the medium of the cement concrete is the medium of the binder, and it is a unique substance for every kind of minor and large construction. But if we know that the buildings, houses, roads, and schools, hospitals, ports, dams, and walls, parking lots, and many more inside and outside of the homemade items are made by the cement concrete. We using cement a number of times, and many more different type of levels. So basically, the cement we are using, it is the ordinary Portland cement. This is the cement used in the worldwide level, basically, and it is made under the argillite or silicates or the alumina or calculus and calcium carbonate content mostly used in the construction purposes. Thereafter, we are using some of the different type of cement like the PPC, that is the Portland Polzanic cement, uses in a marine construction, bridges constructions, dams, and underwater construction, as well as while the cement, which is made by the raw material, will be useful for the indoor and outdoor constructions. And thereafter, we are using the sulfate preventing cement, which is useful for the concrete surface, which doesn't generate the heat in some of their reaction with the water. Thereafter, if we discuss the drawbacks of this cement cement industry, so here it is that the 4 billion carbon dioxide emitted on the global level due to the cement industries. And India is the second largest producer of the cement on global level. Also, the India having the second largest consumer for the cement. Then these are the very essential points. And in 2020, the record of the Indian cement manufacturing have the rupees 64,000 crore as a turnover of our cement industries. And the cement industries and the cement business is the most significant contributor of the air pollution as per the today's scenario. So very high level, the particulate matter emit from the cement plants, and that's why the cement to be known as a safer pollutant in the world. So 1/5 of the worker of the Bengal and the Tamil Nadu of the cement industry found suffering from the disease like the bronchitis, asthma, and the obstructive respiratory system. And the 40% people have their habitat near to the cement industry, and they are also affected from the emissions of the cement industry. The problems are like the dust, air related pollution, water, and noise pollution also being emitted by the cement industry, in the soil pollution, soil waste, and the ground unprocessed, just some of the material transportation. So there are a number of these are some of the greenhouse gases. The environmentalists also complain about the cement industry, about the heating to the iceland, increasing the water during the storm, and the soil erosion and the flooding situation, which are the basic problems that we can see, and affect over the deep of the water land storage. It is affecting over the deep land water storage, and under the water flow, and the water never stop to the cement concrete particular area. So it is drawn to the somewhere, and the water level is completely low in a particular area. Then this thing should be considered. The concrete industry is a industry just enters into their systemic calculation, and it reaches to their all the organs of the body, and it affects to the tissues, including the heart, liver, skin, bone, and muscular, and the hair, and as well as the adversary effect on the microstructure and the psychological performance, and such a pollution also will affect over the skin and eyes. So it is overall the such a industry affecting to the human body. During the manufacturing, the large amount of the unprocessed material, energy, heat, and such a production results released into the particulate matter, and more gases emission, and the material like the pyro and procession, and the technique, and the wet and dry clean, and recreation, preheating, fuel resources, and the natural gas, and the fuel oil, and the large oil are to be reduced from that industry. So India needs a global standards nowadays as per the issue. The country like the South Africa, Australia, Germany, or the European countries diminish the pollution and emission boundaries of the sulfur dioxide, and the Colombia, Germany, some of the European countries have decided there are limits to emission of the nitrogen oxides, and some of the countries have their mercury limits also. But the India doesn't have this type of limitation. And most of the norms are delegated by the ministry and the government, and to reduce the emission need to be measurement and intensive monitoring and surveillance to the big house filters. So we have the many more regulations and the bodies like the state and central pollution board, which are concerned to the cement industries, and we regulated some of the inspection on the various cement industries and obedience of the. They have given some of the parameters of the emissions and the pollutant norms, and some of the check and balance and investigation activities. And we have some of the acts like the Water Act 1970 and some of the environmental acts. But this is the solution. We have the green concrete. It is made by the recycled ingredients, eco-friendly, and last longer performance than the traditional, and the number of the eco-friendly concrete are suggested by the many countries. Fly ashes concrete, which has reduced the flow and increased the concrete strength and resist the silica reaction to the waste product of the coal.
I guess his connection got interrupted. Swapnil, you are muted.
Shall I continue?
Yeah, continue.
So the solution we have as the green concrete, the the silica fume and reuse rust and replace to the common cement 40%, and it works as the same as the traditional cement. And the concrete design as a supplementary cementation material, which is good for the environment. In December 2017, the Supreme Court also permitted to the 13 cement industry to alternative to the traditional cement. So I'm turning towards the conclusion and suggestion that cement concrete is a part of our life, and still the alternatives are not actually used in our country. The Indian cement industries are a very major part of the environmental pollution, and such a cement industries are much lenient about their limitations. And for the cement industry, there are no any special legislation to deal with the huge environmental issue. So Indian legislation have very much ignorant attention over the global, just like a global issue. So thereafter, as per some of the suggestions, the Indian government need to implement the limitations for the hazardous substances as like emitted by the cement industry. Compulsory use need of the green concrete. Authorities should be required to keep the attention, and the daily based data should be evaluated to control such type of emissions. And the government should participate, as well as the industrial cooperation should be required to eliminate such type of hazardous substances emitting into the environment. So the latest mechanism should be used to work as a filter of the gases and to reduce the emitting the environment. And lastly, the foreign policy should be adopted. So thank you so much. Here I can conclude my session.
Thank you, Swapnil. I now request the chairs if they have any questions they may ask.
Thank you so much, Swapnil. It's a wonderful presentation, particularly related to the cement industry and dust pollution caused the cement industry. Being a cancer specialist, I have seen many cancer cases and head and neck cancer cases occurring around the cement industry. So I think cement industry disposal should be a bigger problem. Disposal, most of the companies are dumping their waste underground. The waste into the underground water resources is a very pity part in India. So we should bring even, I don't know what to say. And mostly in Noida and some other places which I visited, one of the village, I don't want to mention that village, where all the cement industries were there near around Noida. Almost 80% of the village people are suffering with head and neck cancer and throat cancer. So this is all you people like you should conduct some research on it and bring publication and bring to the light to the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiv sir. Do you have any questions?
Not a question, just a comment, Swapnil. So, to be a carbon neutral company as a cement industry, so cement industry has become like a dump yard of waste for other industries, right? Most of the other industries, what they are doing, like they are showcasing, they are incinerating their waste in the chemical plants, because in the chemical you need raw materials. So try to do some analysis of how that can be also stopped, or if it is not stopping, how they can neutralize this, because many industries are showing themselves carbon neutral just by giving you a cement industry and taking a certificate. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, last but not the least, I welcome Dr. Kumud Pant and Ms. Tani for prediction of novel targets of chloronological acids derived from green coffee. Ms. Tanisha, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Please turn your camera on.
Yes, ma'am. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, you can share this screen.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, is it visible?
Your screen is visible, but your presentation is not.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
Yeah, now it's visible.
So, good morning, respected teachers. I'm Tanisha Agarwal.
Sorry, Tanisha, can you please put it on full screen?
Yes, ma'am. Wait. Yes, ma'am. Good morning, respected teachers. So, I'm Tanisha Agarwal. I'm here to represent
Tanisha, you're on mute.
now. Okay.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Yes. So in this research paper, target for chlorogenic acids, a major constituent of green coffee, has been deduced using in silico analysis. Let's begin with introduction. Green coffee are basically coffee seeds of coffee fruit that are not roasted. If it is roasted, then the chlorogenic acid, the amount of chlorogenic acid is reduced. Green coffee has higher level of chlorogenic acids content as compared to regular roasted coffee beans. In 2012, green coffee extract was promoted as a miracle weight loss supplement by Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz referred it as burn fat and claimed that no exercise or diet is needed. People take green coffee orally for obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, Alzheimer's disease, and bacterial infections. It was seen that coffee has the highest amount of polyphenol. So basically, chlorogenic acid is a compound that is a polyphenol. It is a name that is used to define the major phenolic group present in coffee. The major polyphenol in coffee is CGA. It is also known as CGA is also known as 5-O coffee oil quinoic acid. So data collection is a major component of green coffee is chlorogenic acid. The main approach of this research paper is to collect ligand bind with chlorogenic acid and then could be used in curing disorders, condition, improving the antioxidant activity. Am I audible now?
You are audible, Tanisha. Please continue.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Tanisha, you're audible. Please continue with your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. To find this ligand, target several readily available software, which has made it easy to account for several ligands and to collect on the basis of function. So basically, the structure is 2D and 3D structure. Methodology, PubChem. So it is a app. It is a website that is used for collecting information, nucleotides, a small protein. We obtain the SMILE format on the chlorogenic acids. PubChem mostly contain small molecules, but also larger molecules such as nucleotides, carbohydrates, lipids, peptide, and chemically modified macromolecules. The PDB bind database is a large collection of protein ligand crystal complexes associated experimentally determined binding data. Selection of software to find the target that are most probable For the finding purpose, we first obtain the SMILE format and PDB format for chlorogenic acids. The several software that were used by us are Swiss software, SuperPred software, ID Target, Farm Mapper, Therapeutic Target, Binding DB, Campbell, Open Target, Similarity, Assemble Approach, that is also known as C, TargetNet. So observation and result. First of all, Swiss Target. It is a software that is most probable and most predicted target, best predicted target. The prediction software were aldose reductase and aldoketo reductase on the basis of 2D and 3D structural similarities. In the case of next software, SuperPred, the predicting target was aldose reductase, carbonic anhydrase 2 on the basis of chemical similarities with CGA. Another software that is Farm Mapper. It is more refined and precise result. Then worked on therapeutic target database. In Binding DB on the basis of wait.
What about your
Campbell? Campbell is a server on the basis of chemical bioactivity and genomic data found that aldose reductase was not given in list as target for the acid. The new highly efficient target was discovered for Homo sapiens. Target for chlorogenic acid on open target several on the basis of relationship between potential drug target and disease. We found different results, that is according to the server, the common targets with different results. References to the Campbell is lipophosphatidic acid receptor for chlorogenic acid under C. Sever on the basis of chemical similarities found that the major target for bounding are both aldoketo reductase family 1, member B10, and aldose reductase. Last work on TargetNet, and the best predicted result were REC, alpha serine, threonine, protein kinase, and corticotrophin releasing factor receptor 1. Conclusion and discussion. According to the research and database collected, obtained the best predicted for the finding of chlorogenic acid so as to prove its affinity, antioxidant activity, anti-inflammatory activity, and its biological activities aldose reductase on the basis of 2D and 3D structure. And these were observed the following software: Swiss Target Prediction, SuperPred C, and TargetNet. So because of its So according to the Campbell, on the basis of chemical bioactivity and genomic data. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanisha. I now request the chairs, if they have any questions, they may ask.
Tanisha, it's a overall, I think use the Swiss target as a docking. So I think it doesn't mention much of your study report here, but still, I feel that you should have mentioned more of data, how it is anti-aldo reductase inhibitory activities through in silico Swiss target analysis. Hello.
Sir, wait. Sir, actually, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
Can you hear me, Tanisha?
Hello.
Sir, you are audible. I guess there is some issue from Tanisha's end.
It's okay. Let's proceed for the next.
Okay, so that's all. Before concluding, I would like to invite our honorable chairs to address the gathering and share their valuable inputs and feedbacks.
Mr. Hemant, you first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Overall, it's a very good initiation to find out the environmental impacts related to the healthcare sectors and application. But mostly the thing which I have observed is that even though most of the topics were not relevant to the present session, but still I feel that that should be taken care in the future. The topics should be more relevant what we say for the session, and it should conclude a benefit for the society, and it should bring some meaningful practical applications also. So overall, it's a good session and a good thing. But one small suggestion is that I request the participants to select the topics which are relevant to the particular theme. So that will be more of ideal, and it will become more fruitful sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sivashad, please.
Yes,
you can
so
comment.
my input would be, it's very nice to see that, a lot of, there were like so many sessions happening at the same point of time. Many, students and as well as the different age group are also participating and talking about circular economy. So it is very nice to see, after like leaving my passion, I came back to India to work on, Clean India projects. So I see that, there will be so many more people, and I want, that is where my, I participate in this sort of forums where we can educate and, we can grow as a community. Because people say, okay, this is kabadi wala work, this is, waste work. And even my whole family also doesn't support sometimes, but I think by talking about these things, we can create a good environment. And definitely very thought-provoking numbers from Shovanita and biomedical waste, which I was thinking, the city-based, and actually I was not concentrating that much. But again, it was a very learning for myself as well. And definitely thank you so much for taking.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening all of us and honoring us with your presence. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on this session and making it a very fruitful and knowledgeable National Symposium, and Dr. Hemant Kumar Maniakam, sir. We are beholden to all the presenters who have presented. You were a great audience. With this, we conclude the event. Thank you for joining us. You may stay back to record your presence through the attendance form given in the chat box. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best, and thank you for the.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Thank you, Shiv, sir. Thank you, Dr. Hemant. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. God bless you.